Good people, what is going on? Another episode of the All Go Podcast. I'm your host, Desmond. Thank you for tuning in. So, a couple things I want to talk about. Number one is my AFC East preview. And number two, which is what I'm going to start with, is my Detroit Lions. So, there's been some news in the last couple of days. Training camp has just started, but Levi Onwuzurike has torn his ACL. He is out for the season. Aleem McNeil already had an injury that he is recovering from. He will be returning. The reports are around November, around Thanksgiving. So we've got some holes to fill, obviously there. Our first round pick from Ohio State, D-tackle, should hopefully help in that. But this this goes back to the same point that I have mentioned multiple times in this offseason, is just the lack of depth that Brad Holmes is or isn't addressing with the Detroit Lions. Like, we are in this mode that we are assuming that guys who historically have not been healthy are just going to start being healthy and contribute in big ways for us. Like Marcus Davenport, I think for him, the talent has always been there. It's always been there. But the health has almost never been there. And the fact that we re-sign him, which I'm fine with re-signing him as a depth piece, but even before the Levi injury, I mean, Marcus Davenport was going to be looked upon for this team to play a big role. And I think that is ludicrous to assume that and to sign that guy. I think he played, 4 games last year? 3 or 4 games? And I get it. His injury was a freak accident, but the year before, he didn't play a full season then either. So to consistently have this thought process, and I know it sounds nuts and it sounds crazy, but part of me thinks literally that Brad Holmes is doing this to like somehow spike the fans that we're just so wrong in bringing in defensive linemen, depth pieces, especially on the defensive end position. Like, I truly think that, because in his post-draft press conference, he's mentioning that, we're fine, don't need to draft a, defensive end and blah, blah, blah. Like, and then also, like, kind of mentioning about the fans, like, that we're so wrong on this. I get it. Fans are nuts. We're crazy. Fan is short for fanatic. I get it, right? Sometimes, yes, fans are nuts and are crazy. This isn't that crazy of a thing. It's like, okay, Aiden Hutchinson had a massive injury, and he's back on the field. He is fully cleared, and he is practicing, and I understand it, and those are great signs. But he's still coming off a catastrophic injury. Like, there's a lot. There's not just the physical of this. There's the mental part, right? Aiden Hutchinson, as of today, has not been, chop blocked or not the chop block, but a cut block. He has not taken a cut block on that leg in, I don't know, what was that, October? Whenever whenever that injury happened. Like that, so there's a mental piece of that as well, of like, man, how's my leg going to hold up if I do try to get cut blocked, and just also to the trust that has to go back into that leg. And it's a mental thing, right? Can he give it his all? Long story short, what I'm saying is to think that in game 1 we are going to get the same exact Hutch that we had last year in game 1, I think is crazy, and I think it's unfair to him. That, just, well, hey, you got hurt, just come on back and be ready to go. This wasn't a sprained ankle. This was, it wasn't a sprained knee. He broke 2 bones in his leg. 2! So, and Zadarius Smith is still hanging out. He mentioned he'd like to be a Detroit Lion. I guess maybe I'll start taking that approach. Maybe something happened that Brad Holmes does not want to bring Zadarius Smith back to the organization, because that's the only reasonable thing that I can think of. He's not going to break the bank. I think he made, $10 million? I would say at this point, maybe. But let's say you offered him $10 million. I think he would take that. I think he'd probably take 8. If he wants to be here, I'm not saying he's going to take a significant discount, right? He's not going to go from $10 million, $12 million to 4, but could he take a little bit less to come be with the Lions? And my thought is, let's just say Aiden does come back. It's irrational, but let's say Aiden comes back and is on the same exact trajectory he was on before he got hurt last year. Through 10 games, he was the best defensive player in the NFL. You still need somebody else to apply pressure on the quarterback, because we know what that life looks like when we only have Aiden and we now have to, he's getting doubled, triple teamed, and, that's a tough life for him. He can battle through it and he's terrific, but wouldn't it be really easy to get Zadarius Smith and say, hey, the Vikings are going to triple team Hutch. You got one-on-one. Go win. Oh, and guess what? You're going against the right tackle instead of what's typically the better left tackle. Go do your thing. I like that. That sounds good to me. But who knows? I hope Brad Holmes is right. I fear Brad Holmes is wrong. AFC East. This one's going to be a little, the Buffalo Bills are winning the AFC East. That is just what's going to happen. What happens after that, we shall see. Honestly, the race after the Bills may be closer than we think. My thought process would be, I'm going to kind of work through. I think Miami is going to be the team to finish second in the division. And by the way, I think most of these teams are going to be pretty close. I could see Miami with like a 9-win, 10-win season. Next from there, I would probably go the Jets. I could see them being about 500, like 8 or 9 wins, either 8-9 or 9-8. And then the Patriots would be potentially bringing up the rear and, 6 wins, 7 wins, something like that. You certainly hope Stefon Diggs can bring some explosion to that offense. You hope Drake May could take another step. I know he got 1 concussion last year, but hopefully he stays healthy. Athletic guy. Drake May is better than what I thought he would be. And you got Vrabel, who's a heck of a coach. So you feel really good about some of those things, but it takes time to build. It takes time to improve more than just one off season. So they'll be better in the future, but I think they're still a ways away there. With Miami, a lot of it just is to his health. Is he going to stay healthy? Obviously the concussions are a big thing for him. But when he plays, they're pretty good. They're not a dominant team by any stretch, but they're pretty good. You'd like to hope Tyreek comes in focused, dialed in, bought in. The end of last season, he was talking a lot of different stuff and talking about he was out and trade me or whatever. So hopefully he's back dialed in. You got Waddle. You still have some pieces. You bring Minkah Fitzpatrick back from the Steelers. Minkah originally was drafted by the Dolphins, so you'd like to think you got a little reinforcement there, but yeah. So we'll see what happens there. And I do think the Justin Fields with the Jets, I think it can work. My one caveat is you cannot do the whole back and forth. I'm going to pull him out because he threw an interception, put him back in. That whole kind of back and forth. If he's QB1, let him be QB1. He's got to be able to work through some of the issues He's got to be able to get back to what he did at Ohio State, which was push the ball down the field. He did not do that with Chicago. He did not do that with Pittsburgh. And that limits who he is as a player. Now, I don't think he's going to come out and throw for, 5,000 yards by any stretch of the imagination. But you've got to get back to the old Justin Fields. Because if he starts pushing the ball down the field and then you team that with his athletic ability to be able to run, now all of a sudden you've got to cover the entire field and not just you can sit on all the routes. He's not going to throw anything deep. You've got to as an offensive coordinator, you've got to be able to get him to push that ball down the field, and that's coaching. Because I think a big part of why he didn't do that in Pittsburgh was that race was so close as far as who was going to be the starting quarterback that he didn't want to make a mistake. Any mistake, and he felt like he was going to get benched. So you can't have quarterbacks playing like that. They need to play free. Everything needs to be instinctual. And sometimes you do have to take some risk. Now, not unnecessary risk, but sometimes you need to throw the ball down the field. So we'll see what happens there. Like I said, I think it can work, but you got to put the faith and the confidence back into to Justin Fields. So that is it for me. While you are here, go ahead and subscribe, because there's a good chance that you're not subscribed. Like 60% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can get a notification as soon as another video drops. That is it for me. Appreciate it. Peace.